Hello, my name is Luke Reed, and I'm here to argue why water polo, the water sport, is a harder sport physically, mentally, and emotionally than American football. Now, I have three main reasons why I think water polo is a harder sport than football. First is your general cardiovascular exercise. The first reason I think about this is think about when you're mainly playing football. You're mainly standing, right? In water polo, you're mainly treading water. The most shallow these pools get during these times is about 8 feet. And if you can stand in an 8 feet pool, that's very impressive. The second reason I have is the physicality and the brutality of the sport. Now, I know if you're a big football player, big football fan, that sounds crazy, right? Football is very brutal, very physical, yes. In football, you're wearing pads. You have a layer of protection that's constantly protecting you. In water polo, you're essentially wearing nothing. So you have nothing that's in your way besides the water, which I do know that slows that down a little bit. That's getting in the way of somebody hitting you. The third reason is stoppage during the game. Think about offensive and defensive football, subbing out, stuff like that, waiting for a first down, stuff like that. None of that's in water polo. There's no waiting. It's go, 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 go. You're never taking a break. Now, since I live in Texas, I'm going to go out and assume that the majority of this audience has played football and has not played water polo. I feel like I'm in a very rare position here where I've done both, and I've played both for several years. From my first grade year to my sophomore year of high school, I played football, and from my ninth grade year to my 12th grade year of life, I played water polo. So this is giving me a very unique perspective on both sports. Now, in my opinion, the hardest part of football, the position to play, is the offensive line. It's what these five people here are doing. Their sole purpose in the game of football is to protect their quarterback, protect their running back, and to block people. What that means is they're constantly, as soon as the ball is snapped, they're constantly putting their arms out and essentially shoving people. It's very, very brutal, very physical, very aggressive. It's a hard thing to do. Now, the first reason I think water polo is harder than football is cardiovascular exercise, right? I sort of mentioned this earlier, but think about when you're resting. There's no resting in water polo. You are constantly moving some sort of your body, constantly gasping for air and breathing. You're always treading water, whereas in football you could be taking a break or waiting. And then the argument against that would be, say, a wide receiver that makes a lot of sprints and cuts into the ground. Well, in water polo, you do the same thing, right? You are constantly swimming, sprinting for the ball. In this picture right here, you can see at the beginning of the game sprint. This is when all the players are sort of race for the ball to see who gets the first possession of the game. And then pivoting in water polo is much harder than in football. You can't just plant your foot in the ground and then hope to move a certain direction. You have to physically stop your body from moving in the pool, flip it all the way around itself, essentially go from on your back to your stomach or on your stomach to your back. It's a much more physically demanding thing. It's a lot harder to do. The second reason I think that water polo is harder than football is the pure physicality of the sport. Now, as you can see in this picture, number 7 here is clearly choking this guy in the water. Yes. Funny to believe that is allowed in the sport. I know that seems crazy. I know football players are like, whoa, that's insane. They should call a flag here, right? Wrong. This is allowed, and while there are penalties in water polo, they're not near to the extreme time length as they are in football. Say there's a holding call in a football game, right? The referees have to gather around, say who committed the personal foul. They have to call the foul. They have to announce it, and then they have to reset the ball. In water polo, they blow a whistle, point at somebody, take 3 seconds, everybody swims back, and the game resumes. That 3 seconds versus maybe 30 or 45 seconds is a huge difference for catching your breath and taking time to wait. And that's another reason why I think water polo is more difficult than football. The last reason is stoppage. Now, I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but think about a general first down in football, something that happens, say, 30 to 40 times a game, right? Pretty common thing. During that time, you're constantly walking, constantly stopping. Maybe your offense is a huddle. Maybe you're on the defensive side of the football and you want to run a different package. Maybe you're a nickel cornerback, excuse me. You'd want to be subbed out, right? That time you have to catch your breath and wait is non-existent in water polo. In water polo, there are 4 quarters. These quarters pretty much go nonstop, right? You have a 10-minute quarter. That 10 minutes goes by. It's been about 12 to 15 minutes rather than a 15-minute quarter for football taking anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes. That difference is a lot, and it adds up. Also in water polo, there's no real concept of offense versus defense. In football, all the way down to the high school level, nobody really plays 2 sides of the football, so you're getting essentially half the game rest. In water polo, you're not doing that. The only rest you're really getting is a timeout, which is about a minute, halftime, which is about 15, and in between quarters, which is about 3. So total minutes, that's about 20 minutes of resting. In football, you're getting probably triple that at a minimum, right? So, is water polo harder? I think yes. I mean, look at this person in the middle with the ball. His head is being grabbed and thrown into the water like nobody's business. In football, you can't do that. You'd probably get ejected from the game. Yes. In water polo, nothing happens. Maybe you get sort of a power play situation, but that's it. I think water polo is more physical, requires more endurance, and is much more intensive than football. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.